Hello, this is the Queen, and if you're listening to this, I have died. But immediately before dying, I subscribed to patreon.com/House of Decline, where I got many comics and many bonus episodes of podcasts hosted by the wonderful Alex and Steven. Hopefully, they will be entertaining you as much as they entertain me seconds before my death. How am I recording this after knowing I have died? I'm a ghost.
Hello, this is Osama bin Laden. I am recording this directly before I died, and if you are hearing it, it means you should go to patreon.com/House of Decline, where you can find many good comics, and also Bush did 9/11.
Right, yes. Of course, Osama bin Laden is a 9/11 conspiracist, as we all know.
He's the best one.
Yeah, he's the one that came up with it all in the first place. 9/11, it didn't even happen.
Yeah, he's the one who started the conspiracy theory, you think?
That would be funny. It would be funny if he just like dressed up as a white guy and he said jet fuel can't melt steel beams. He took on this persona.
Oh man.
He had radical surgery. He had the white chick surgery. And Osama bin Laden this entire time. I'm going to stop with this line.
I would love it if Osama bin Laden had white chick surgery.
He did white chicks, and he had like blue color contacts, and he was in the van with al-Baghdadi, who didn't know he was a white chick, and al-Baghdadi started playing Vanessa Carlton.
Oh, because they wanted to. It was like a classic Looney Tunes style romance that was developing, like when Bugs dresses up as a lady and Elmer Fudd falls in love with him.
Yeah, al-Baghdadi was falling for the white chicksified Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
That's what really happened. SEAL Team 6 just caught a 6'6" man. They didn't actually get Osama. Osama right now is living his best life as Liz Truss.
What do you think about her? Everyone is sharing pictures of her feet on my Twitter feed, which I guess shows you the kind of people I follow on Twitter.
There you go. Well, yeah, she did post feet, like right away. As soon as becoming prime minister, she posted feet, which is, a bold move. And there has been speculation that she is into BDSM and that she's wears a collar. Where's like a BDSM? Maybe there's a BDSM collar involved with Liz Truss.
Where's this coming from? I haven't heard.
I don't know. Just rumblings on BDSM YouTube. Well, I mean BDSM Twitter.
Do you go on what is it called, FetLife? I
don't go on FetLife, but I think it would be interesting if we went on FetLife right now and see what was going on.
It was the guy who wrote this book about the Holocaust. I can't remember his name. I think it's Jerry Saltz.
Jerry Saltz, yeah.
He was talking about how when he was visiting the Holocaust, the concentration camps in Poland, he decided to go on FetLife in Poland.
Ooh. Okay.
To find out what kind of kinks they were into in the towns that had the concentration camps.
Okay.
Which I thought was a hilarious idea.
What were they into? Was it just mostly hentai?
It was like whips and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not. Everyone's who doesn't like
I don't really like being whipped.
Yeah, well, I'm not into the pain thing. I'm not into pain for as much as I wish I was, because it seems cool.
Yeah, you're like more into like emotional humiliation, right?
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. I like it when people are pointing at me. Do you know that Twitter account Pantsed Dude, I think it's called, or @Pantsed Guy?
No.
Where it's just all of his videos are him being pantsed and being so embarrassed. And you see his real penis, and he's got a pretty big penis, so it's like I get why he's doing it.
Okay.
But in like one thing, he's like, I'm dressed as Jason, and what if Jason got pantsed? Where it's like, I'm dressed as Hercules, and what if Hercules got? Oh no! And he's like in all these situations where he's getting pantsed, and the people clamor for it. But that's a big thing.
How many followers does he have?
I think he has. Let's see. I'm trying to. Let's find Pantsed Dude.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to do an episode where we go on FetLife and kink shame. I think we did a kink shaming episode already, so we don't want to. Yeah,
we don't want to. We're not kink shaming. Pantsed Dude currently has 99.5K followers.
Wow.
Well on the road. His latest pantsing video is a preview. Someone is unbuttoning his overalls. He's a cowboy this time, and they're putting the overall strings around his neck as a caller, and they pantsed him. It's finally, his dick is out. It's very embarrassing for him. But yeah, dude. Dude.
I'm spending the day trolling people by telling them that they need to quit talking about 9/11 because the Queen died 3 days ago, and I have gotten some pretty good responses. One guy just told me, LMFAO, no, thousands died compared to one. A country was attacked. Thousands lost their lives, and America changed forever. And a war that lasted for years and cost even more lives came from it. It had more impact than you can imagine. So no, while sad, her death isn't more important. Nice try. And I'm going to say, yes, it is.
You've been trolled. You got Steven. There you go.
I mean, it's just too easy. I don't know. I was going to look up if we did a kink shaming episode, because I think we did.
That happened to me. It's very funny when people are not able to parse very obvious sarcasm, which happens a lot. Because,
right.
Twitter, you have a flat affect to what you produce. So, hilariously, Marvel announced Sabra, the Israeli superhero.
Oh, someone just said that now I'm losing credibility.
You're losing credibility.
Oh, really? The guy whose screen name is The Nightmare Before 9/11 is losing his credibility?
People take things very seriously.
I can't deal with how seriously they're taking it.
But yeah, I wrote of Sabra, the Israeli superhero. I'm sure I trust the MCU to handle the Palestinian rights with sensitivity. And some replies were like, yeah, the MCU doesn't handle anything well. The MCU, very, very earnest replies of like, oh, you're nice.
Yeah.
You're nice people.
Well,
you don't deserve any of this.
They picked a pretty hot hummus lady, I gotta say.
Oh, yeah, that's what they do. I mean, Israel is known for having the hot Jews, and it's always put its hot lady Jews up front and center.
Now, can you explain the connection between hummus and this character?
Yes, Sabra is the name of a person born in Israel, and it's the name of a type of prickly pear, which is rough on the outside but sweet on the inside, like the Israelis' image of themselves of being tough bastards, but filled with that wonderful psychedelic trance sentimentality as well. Okay. So that's where it comes. It doesn't. The hummus brand came after. Or I don't know if it was contemporaneous, but, everyone was saying, why don't we get the other BDS brands in there, like SodaStream and the television show Euphoria. There should be... And SodaStream would be an excellent... that's the superhero I would... If I had soda powers, how some people, become water and they can have water powers? I would love the ability to control soda.
So
that would be an amazing
kind of how
superpower.
Spider-Man shoots web out of his wrist, you'd just sort of have, like, a fountain drink.
Yeah,
gun.
SodaStream, I'd shoot seltzer out of my wrist. But it would come natural. I would produce it naturally. I would have a blood seltzer level.
I know what you would probably spend most of your time doing, and that is just self-sucking your soda emitter
out of my penis. just learning to suck my own dick because it shoots soda now.
Yeah, because soda comes out of it.
Yeah. It's double the pleasure. I can suck my own dick and I can drink seltzer at the same time. This is amazing for me. Frankly, I'm having a very good time. Sabra in the comics is really funny. Her enemies are anarchists, and I'm going to go to the Marvel Wiki because they're also on the Marvel Wiki page. You can look up Mossad. Mossad has its own entry because Sabra is also a Mossad agent. She's a superpowered Mossad agent.
That's cool. I mean,
and yeah, the jokes a lot of the people were making. What is her the person she fights? An 8-year-old Palestinian child? Is that the villain in this movie? Throwing rocks, which is a very good joke and very sad.
Well, they should counter by having a Palestinian superhero whose superpower is human shield. People would get so mad.
Yeah, Marvel should absolutely come up with an intervening Palestinian superhero.
Yeah, but they just make it. But that's the villain. It's like a super villain.
Right.
Yeah,
it's called, instead of Sabra, he's called Hamas or something like that. He's actually just called Hummus, and he has hummus powers. He can turn into living hummus.
Now that would suck my own dick if hummus came out of it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Big chunky hummus coming out of your urethra.
Why you say chunky? It's smooth.
Chunky hummus.
It's never chunky.
I like a little chunky. I like to have a textured chickpea.
It's nice. I mean, if you make it yourself, you can make it chunky, like a little, I make it. This is now the cooking show. This is a cooking episode, and let's compare hummus recipes. You need a fuck ton of tahini to really make it good, okay? And you got to use the dried chickpeas. If you're using canned chickpeas, you are doing it wrong because they put stuff in the canned chickpeas that makes it not so good. So you got to use dried chickpeas, a fuck ton of tahini, a buttload of garlic, and some lemon juice. And then, if it's still warm, you put some olive oil on it and have it. Oh, it's so good.
So you're the real Sabra right here. You should make your own hummus brand, your own non-Israeli hummus brand.
Do you remember when
we're only on the occupied land of American indigenous people, so it's fine. You can buy from it.
Do you remember when hummus was taken off in it was 2003 or something? I don't know why. Maybe it was because we were doing all these Middle East wars, and Americans are like, Middle East? Well, we could try Middle Eastern food. Why not? We're going over there. We're sending our boys over there. Let's try some Middle Eastern food. What? Hummus? What is this? Oh, it's like a dip. It's like a different kind of salsa. And then all these hummus brands started popping up.
Yeah, I think, it was, it's because it's delicious and you can, and pretty healthy, even though, some of the sweeter commercialized versions aren't really.
You know what I saw? Sabra hummus brand. You know what I saw? They have chocolate hummus.
Oh no. Oh no. That sounds, Israel is famous for its terrible culinary feats as well. Mm-hmm. It is one of the worst food countries. You'll see a burger with red peppers, with uncooked red peppers on it or something like that. It's like,
this crunchy. That's nice.
This is burger in Israel. This is I have not had Israeli burger before. So I want to read these lines from Sabra's Marvel Wiki.
Okay.
Sabra was brought on the site of a hostage taking where the Israelis for Anarchy and Windstorm were besieged in a kibbutz with the deaf son of an American ambassador. Comics are awesome. Comics are great. She ended up depowering and leaving an agonized Windstorm and saved the boy. She battled Hulk another time a few months later when he and Ulysses targeted Max Mir, a boy susceptible of becoming the next Adolf Hitler.
Wait, he's susceptible?
He was susceptible, he had Hitler potential.
Like if someone says the wrong thing to him, he's like, oh, I'm gonna be Hitler.
Oh, I'm gonna Hitler. I'm turning into Hitler. Oh, jeez. I can feel it. Or he's a Hitler. Whenever he looks at the full moon and he turns into a Hitler. I'm now reading the Max Mir wiki. Max Mir was the son of the Dreiberg ambassador to Israel. Okay. His mother was an American student who came with a student visa to Dreiberg but found love there. This is a long backstory. Delphi from the Pantheon witnessed a vision of a future where Max Mir would marshal his homeland of Dreiberg into one of the most devastating war machines Earth had ever known, and himself becoming a tyrant with the same stature as Hitler.
Hitler, again, Hitler is huge in the MCU. Was it what's the deal with that? I guess that's
that's how comics.
That's how they started. Yeah, they were fighting
basically
Hitler.
All comics are at root, or Marvel comics especially. Were big into the Hitler bashing.
I was watching Elvis, and they were saying that Elvis was saying that Captain Marvel was his favorite superhero.
The old Captain Marvel.
The boy Captain Marvel.
Yeah, the boy Captain Marvel. Yeah, that is true of Elvis. He did have a little lightning bolt that he carried. Elvis was a big nerd, is what we're getting at.
Yeah, it was very funny. A very funny movie.
Elvis is autistic, and his hyperfixation was black music.
It's funny. It's cool. Okay,
that's kind of how what the movie implies as well.
It's funny and cool. Just like Elvis, who's funny.
Oh, no,
and
the
cool.
Elvis movie is great. It is a fucking 5 stars, 9 out of 10, the best movie Baz Luhrmann's ever made, for sure.
Baz Luhrmann is engaged in a lifelong project of making myths for white American teenage girls, and I say more power to him.
Absolutely.
I don't know what his next project is going to be. Probably how like the founding of Hot Topic, I would imagine is.
Yeah, well, he's big into America. It seems like he has his 2 Australia movies. He's got Strictly Ballroom in Australia, but the rest of his movies, I guess his Moulin Rouge is his Paris movie. But Romeo plus Juliet, The Great Gatsby, Elvis. He's big into American mythology.
Yeah.
So
it's
I think,
yeah,
Malcolm X. That's the next move.
Oh boy.
Let's see Baz Luhrmann's Malcolm X. We already have a really good version with Spike Lee. Let's let a white man take the wheel.
It's like another 3-hour-long music video.
Yeah. Would it be funny if it's like just a shot-for-shot remake of the Spike Lee movie for some reason?
Yeah.
But it has all like there's like a lot of shit going on in the background. It has like Baz Luhrmann flair.
He's just some kind of crazy guy out there doing whatever he wants. I mean, I think The Great Gatsby was okay. I saw it in 3D. It was the only 3D movie I ever saw during that craze of 3D movies. Remember Nerds Online? They were like, every movie's going to be 3D from now on.
Yeah. 3D TVs were becoming a thing.
Whoops! I guess that wasn't correct.
No, because it doesn't, like, outside of maybe Avatar, which might revive that whole trend, like, movies weren't significantly different in 3D without, in order to have that, maybe I'm even misremembering what Avatar was like when I experienced it, but I really remembering, at least in the theater when I had the fucking 3D glasses on, it did the thing where people were reaching out, and it felt sort of tactile in a way. But that's because, James Cameron is a singular technologist.
What I love when I go to the
capacity.
movies more than anything is wearing 2 pairs of glasses.
Yes, that's also a factor that makes it unlovable, uncomfortable. Eventually they'll master the thing where you see the 3D without the glasses. That's coming down the pipeline soon.
You mean like in real life? Like
in
how
real life
3D?
Holograms. I actually wonder, like, once 3D immersive holograms, which seems like it's coming pretty soon to a mainstream. I wonder, there will be holographic camera, like 3D holographic cameras that can capture, or at least, interpolate in a 3D model from a two-dimensional
So basically,
image.
we're reinventing theater.
Yes, yeah.
And it's going to be instead of actually seeing a play, we're going to have a movie of a play on a stage.
Yeah, but they will be the Tupac holograms. You can see every Tupac. The Tupac hologram and the Robert Kardashian hologram are the only ones we've got so far. And they're going to do all of Hamlet.
Yeah. Well, there'll be a David Schwimmer hologram. I would love to see Friends all hologrammed.
Yeah. They'll be there for you. That's, that was the main thing. And so will these holograms. They should have a hologram of the Queen. Why does she have to die? She can live on forever in hologram form.
That might be nice. I don't know. It seems like everyone is sad about the Queen, and everyone's taking it very seriously, and I'm glad for that. So
yeah, we're monarchists here. We're big monarchists.
Yeah, what are the other like remaining monarchs? I think does the Netherlands have one?
Yeah, I think Sweden has one, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't there a guy called like King Oli or something like that?
It's a skateboarding move. King kickflip.
the king flip. I don't know what we're saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, monarchists. People like monarchism, right? People are big into the idea of this spiritual essence of the country.
Right.
She is England. Damn it! All of England is in her. Which is like weird that if you argue that all of England is in her, and then you get mad at people for like saying that she's bad for colonialism, like how? She's like, if she is the spiritual representative of England, that's all the bad things as well, right?
Yeah, and something that I learned about history from the Queen dying was the Mau Mau Rebellion.
Yeah. What happened to the Mau Mau?
In which some Kenyans tried to rebel against the colonial government which is the British, and then the British rounded up like 500,000 Kenyans, and this was in like 1958. Mm-hmm. Put them all in camps and tortured them in horrifying ways, like just like the most horrifying ways you can imagine. And then they ended up in like 2012 paying 5,000 survivors like $30 million in reparations.
Yeah. Was she queen at the time of the India-Pakistan partition?
Oh, no, she was not. But she was queen during the Mau Mau Rebellion.
Okay. Yeah, that's bad. I mean, what else? I'm sure I can think of other English atrocities that occurred during that time. I mean, maybe not as pronounced as that one, but they still had their fingers in, the post-colonial countries everywhere.
Okay, so
Yemen. She was a big presence in Yemen as well.
Let me talk about some of these British war crimes that were occurring in like the 50s. Let's see.
We had just won the war. We are the preservers of culture. We had beaten back the Huns. And we were ready to spread the wonder of democracy around the world. What did we achieve?
Things got a little out of hand. By the time I cut his balls off, he had no ears, and his eyeball, the right one, I think, was hanging out of his socket. Too bad. He died before I got much out of him. A description of a British interrogation during the Mau Mau.
That's a direct quote from the Queen herself.
Yeah. So for Jeff Bezos to get mad at someone for, wishing pain upon the Queen's death. Yeah. That's especially because that woman also was meeting with the Staten Island Amazon unionizers, is just really outrageous use of his power. And Jeff Bezos sucks. So,
yeah. Like it's also just, well, it's that thing with billionaires where they're so thin-skinned, where your whole goal was to become the big top asshole leader. Fuck you. You realize that comes with people hating you. People are going to hate you for that, right? It's something that even I remind myself, even this minor level of like a platform on Twitter, now I can become a hate sponge for people. Yeah. And it's not because of anything I've done particularly. It's just because it was,
right. Well, I initially, I was like, oh, wow, wishing excruciating pain on someone seems bad. That was my first reaction. And then as I learned more and I read about the Mau Mau Rebellion and the way they tortured people, I think that what she tweeted was fine. And in fact, maybe even appropriate.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about the professor as well. The professor at Carnegie Mellon, was it?
Yeah.
What's her name?
I don't remember.
Uyu, something like that.
But like, I don't think that tweet violated the rules. She was just saying she hoped that the Queen was in pain while she was dying, which is, at first I was like, that's odd, that's an odd thing to do. But then as I learned about some of the things that they did while she was queen that she said nothing about, I'm just like, good. Yeah, she probably should have some pain while she died. That would have been just.
Yeah, just a little, it's
that's
like
crazy that they did that. Like while Elvis was.
Yeah, Mama, they're doing the Mau Mau Rebellion. They're hurting people. They're hurting people over there.
Elvis was just like going to tent revivals and being like, oh my God, I love this music.
Yeah, I love these people. I love this music, Mama. It's terrible what they're doing in the Mau Mau Rebellion. In fact, I'm doing my own Mau Mau Rebellion right now, Mama.
That's actually his first hit single was That's All Right, Mau Mau.
That's all right, man. He was supporting them. That's why Colonel Tom Parker was woke. That's why they wouldn't go on a European tour, because they're doing terrible things in the Mau Mau Rebellion.
Okay, yeah, you're doing Zizek as Colonel Tom Parker. I'm doing
Colonel Tom Parker. This trash can we call R&B music. This trash can that we call keeps. I was thinking, my other joke was I was going to go to the Buckingham Palace and sell I love the Queen and I hate the Queen pins. Yeah. Then get immediately beat up by a bunch of guys going, oh, bruv! Don't make fun of... Yeah, they stick all the I hate the Queen pins in my eyes.
Well, who's someone that died recently in America that we were not allowed to make fun of? Was it George H.W.? Was that... Is he dead?
People. Yeah, H.W. died. But I think we were allowed to make fun of. I'm trying to think of like a historical.
I think
figure.
Nancy Reagan. When Nancy Reagan died, they got mad for making fun of her,
calling her the throat goat and such like that.
That came later. That came after she died.
I guess that. I mean, I think the thing about Nancy Reagan is when she died, there was someone said that it was Kamala or someone weird. No, it was Hillary, I think, said that she was like a supporter of the LGBT community or something like that, which is obviously ridiculous because, she conspired to keep AIDS silent for a while.
Someone was like, the Queen was a quiet supporter of the LGBT movement.
Yeah, very quiet.
Someone quote tweeted, like, some said maybe the quietest.
Yes. And, that shit is not to be... one thing about Princess Di is it was a big deal for her hugging that person with HIV. I do think, whatever else, that is, like, one of the best things you can say as her. Like, the best royal that people tend to remember is her because she seemed to have that weird humanity that if you're in that position, like, you're automatically, that's going to be forced out of you. Like, how can you be a normal person and be a royal,
Yeah.
Or, like, how can you give a shit about the common folk, and be a fucking
someone
royal?
with HIV was huge because people didn't want to, like, nurses in hospitals were afraid. Like, they were like, I don't want to touch, I don't want to get it, I don't want to touch, I want to be in the same room. Because people were just, the freak out about COVID is nothing compared to the freak out about AIDS and not wanting to be around people with AIDS.
Yeah.
Just watch the movie Philadelphia.
That's obviously the greatest representation of a gay man.
Just watch Denzel Washington use slurs. He uses a lot of slurs in that movie.
90s were different. It was a hard movie. It was about hardness.
I watched that on an airplane. Right after watching the movie where Tom Hanks plays Walt Disney, the one about Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
I was like, these movies making me cry.
Yeah. Tom Hanks as an AIDS victim sounds like a fucking come down. That's jeez, I'm dying of AIDS. No. Yeah. There's no crying. There's no AIDS in baseball. I'm digging myself into a hole here. That's from League of Their Own. League of Their Own. Would you? They were, League of Their Own. I think I was listening to the Batting Around podcast with Lauren and Jane and Steven from Twitter. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about, one episode, they were talking about League of Their Own and how you can't have a character like Tom Hanks' character anymore who's just like an alcoholic. And it's fun, It's like now everyone's alcoholism has to be a problem, You could just have like a fun drunk in movies, and you can't have that character anymore.
Well, maybe if there was a superhero and alcohol's coming out of his penis, maybe
that would be fun. Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to quit alcohol if it's coming out of your penis?
Yeah, his name would be Bottle Service or something like that. It's too close to the Nick Kroll character of Bobby Bottle Service, but yeah.
Nick Kroll. What is this news with Nick Kroll and Florence Pugh?
Pugh, you haven't been following the Don't Worry, Darling? Worry, Darling press tour?
So
the disaster?
Confounding. It has confounded me so utterly. I don't who's Matt, like, Olivia Wilde directed it.
Yes.
And then Shia LaBeouf was too intense and too good of an actor, too awesome of a dude.
Too good of an actor to be you're a big Shia supporter.
I love him, okay?
Well, he beat up FKA Twigs.
I'm sorry.
Like Shia LaBeouf.
I don't love that part of him, but I love him as an actor. Okay? Sorry. Okay. People do bad stuff. I don't control him.
And you like him as an actor? What do you like him as an actor in?
He's good at acting.
Honey Boy?
He's good. He's like the best actor.
Holes? You liked Holes?
Yes.
Big Holes?
I like watching him eat an onion, okay? He eats an onion better more convincing. He probably was really eating an onion.
Yeah, absolutely. He was not faking eating that onion. All of that onion was in his mouth.
I was a huge Even Stevens fan growing up.
Yeah.
And I just like him, okay? I'm sorry he did bad stuff. I can't. Like,
I'm not engaging in the Shia LaBeouf apologism, but I will support you.
I don't support. I'm not like trying to get him roles, but I'm going to watch his movies. I'm not going to pay for them.
You're not going to boycott Shia. You're not going to BDS Shia
What, am
LaBeouf?
I supposed to not pirate his movies or whatever? Like, I can't just, if it's on streaming already, I can't watch it?
Having a fucking Shia LaBeouf DVD in your house is like having a fucking Soda Stream. It shows you don't fucking care, okay?
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna watch the movies because he's funny and crazy, and
I guess. What's he good at? Is he good at Transformers?
He's good in Indiana
I guess he's kind of good at
Jones.
Transformers.
He's good in the Indiana Jones movie. I don't know why they got rid. I guess they got rid of him because he's an abusive guy, but he was like beating up everyone. He's just, I imagine him as just like constantly punching the air and everyone around him.
Yeah, he seems very angry. Yeah, what if that was a thing? It's like, I'm just punching the air constantly. If you get in the way, it's your own fault.
Yeah, and everyone's like, no one at all is looking at the cast of Even Stevens and being like, okay, who molested this poor boy? Because he is so fucked up. Okay, something horrible happened to him.
I don't know if you can necessarily say that.
I bet something fucked up happened to him.
That would justify it? It's okay. Don't worry. You can beat up FKA Twigs. He was molested. It's fine.
No, he can't. You can't beat up anybody. Right? It would make people understand that he needs help. Okay, he needs help. He should not be joining the Catholic Church. Like, he's obviously like searching for help and doing. Are you cries saying that
anyone who joins the Catholic Church is in extreme distress?
Yeah, you kind of have to be.
We should be rescuing the Red Scare. I don't think they're the Red Scare. They're just getting the Thiel bucks now, so they have to.
Yeah, I think he's in distress. I mean, he's got mental problems. He's in distress. It doesn't excuse violence. Mm-hmm. You should never be violent ever.
No. Well, except against the Nazis.
The who?
The who?
The who?
Those guys.
Those who? I don't know those guys.
You've never heard of the Nazis?
I never heard of them.
Okay, let's see if I would. I'll try and describe them to you. Imagine some really angry guys.
Okay.
They're just really angry, and they're especially about the Jew. Have you ever seen the movie The Lord of the Rings?
No, I've seen this new TV show. I've only seen this new TV show.
Have you seen the Lord of the Rings television show?
Yeah.
Well, the Nazis are like the elves in that show.
Oh. Okay.
That's exactly what the Nazis are. If I were describing somebody...
Like a utopian multiracial group of super beings? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm describing the Nazis to somebody. I have also never heard of the Nazis, but I imagine this is what they're like.
And they're like led by a woman? Who's like
We're taking, Leni Riefenstahl.
Beautiful.
Galadriel was the Leni Riefenstahl.
Cool. Okay, it sounded pretty good. So far.
So far, these Nazis, these Lord of the Nazis. Has anyone... Because there are a lot of Nazis that are into Lord of the Rings, which is very funny. Mm-hmm. It's funny to be a white supremacist and also into like these very nerdy books.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why everyone likes Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry. It's mid-tier fantasy, but with very good world building. Oh, very good. Very good.
I think people like it because there was a post on Trad Twitter. They were saying that the Lord of the Rings are superior to the Gurm books because Lord of the Rings actually contain hard good and evil.
The what book? Oh, the
Gurm, the Song of Ice and Fire
Game
books. The Game of Thrones books, yeah. Just call them the Gurm books. But they're superior because they contain a sense of good and evil. And that's like what these trad people are after, is like they hate postmodernism because it has erased the idea that there are necessary waypoints of good and evil that we can turn our heads to.
It clearly hasn't. I mean, we have this whole Ukraine war that's supposed to be between good and evil, and everyone who... You could not describe the people who are cheering that on as being trad. They're your normal progressives. It's very strange. Everyone, I think everyone wants to see a fight between good and evil.
Yeah. But even so, like, that's the other thing about Lord of the Rings is, like, Tolkien can sometimes get criticized for racism in it, but I think Tolkien was trying to deliberately avoid that because he had especially, like, a huge struggle of trying to think, okay, the orcs, they're bad. They're, like, evil. They're clearly evil, but they're sentient, so that doesn't make any sense with my sort of Catholic idea, because if you're sentient in Catholicism and then you can understand sin, then you're not evil because you can improve and you're like one of God's. So Tolkien always went through these like massive permutations on how to justify like the evilness of the orcs, which he never really could quite get to. I mean, that's sort of what's interesting about Catholic philosophy in general. It's about a bunch of nerds setting hard rules for themselves and then trying to like logic their way around those rules Like, that's sort of like what Augustine is about. It's about, thinking, well, God is all good, so how must there be evil? And it's like, you have to begin from the axiomatic premise that God is all good, right? That's the big rule that you've set up. So how do I ex post facto justify that? And I think that's what's interesting about Catholicism. That's where it gets really creative as well, because you have to come up with some really wacky ways for like logic and rationality to shift in order to justify these hard spiritual rules that you've automatically set up for yourself.
Yeah, there's always I went to Catholic school, so I had to learn about all the heresies.
The heresies.
And there's a bunch that are like, I was like, some of these sound pretty good. Why are they bad, and why are they so bad? Why don't you have some? But they were going through this sort of refinement process over 2,000 years, where occasionally, like, a peasant person would be like, I don't think that the church should own all the gold. And then they would be like, he's a heretic. He's saying the church can't own all the gold. We got to burn him. And this would happen every so often, and until a nerdy German guy really stuck it to him. And I think I was saying on a previous episode, the schism of the Protestant church is the greatest apocalypse to happen to Catholicism and Catholics. And the popes ever since have been working to mend that schism. So you have to do your duty as a Protestant and never collaborate with a Catholic, ever.
I'm now hearing Pope Francis going ding doodle doo 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 doodle doo 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 doo. I must fix the skis. I know the peace is manned because I watched them fall away. It's me, the Pope.
Apparently, there's Pope Francis has been. He's sort of like under threat of a potential coup in Pope land. They're going to try to
because he's too liberal.
Yeah, he's too he's too liberal. So he's like going after the trads in the church. Getting rid of the Latin Mass, and he's going after some of the Knights of Malta and the Opus Dei.
Yeah, that's good. I would rather the Pope Francis version of Catholicism than the Opus Dei version of Catholicism be the reigning Catholicism.
It is slightly better, although in my opinion it's all the same.
Yeah, it's all bad, but a lot of Catholics do what the Pope says, and if the Pope is being chiller than usual than past popes, I think that's a better thing than sort of the insane wing of Catholic converts that, especially the ones that are, we make fun of Thiel for not like having a big reach on society, but I think he actually does. I think in ways that we can't really understand, because I think this sort of return to kings idea of the Dark Enlightenment finds its way into the mass culture in strange ways. I mean, most notably with this adulation of the Queen, of people getting really mad that you're making fun of her. This is people constantly want to justify this return to monarchy when it's so. I mean, monarchy is so obviously this weird vestige of the past. It's this vestigial limb. It's this thing that continues to exist even though it's wholly useless and pointless in the way that we organize society. I guess it's not real. Like, English people, when trying to justify the Queen, will say, oh, it brings in so much money for England. And, she's our spiritual center, and it's part of our cultural export as we have this system of royals, That's what makes it unique. But I don't know, it always screams to me that you're just not as advanced as a culture. You still have these weird figureheads who for no discernible reason are richer and have extreme power. Not because they're wise or they've earned it in any way, but because they're still gifted by blood and divine right. It's
a hierarchy that enables the people who are well off to feel like they are well off because of God and not because of systemic injustice. And so it's self-justifying for everyone else who has a place in a hierarchy that's not at the absolute bottom. And so that's why everyone in England who, you see the images of who is like gathering outside to mourn the Queen. It's like a sea of well-fed white faces who all look like they're not at the bottom of the hierarchy. And I think that's what it is. It's like a way to say that it is God. It is because of God that the social order is the way it is, and it's kind of disgusting. And it's doubly disgusting to see any American support the monarchy, and any conservative American who is supposedly so pro founding fathers and our founding
Gads
myth.
and flag Americans are
on.
like, respect the goddamn queen. I guess, there's some element of that where it's like the queen has, in the minds of most people, been removed of any of the powers of an actual monarch, and thus she is sort of harmless and okay. And, you can't hate somebody for what they represent. But that's literally her job, is to represent. That's her entire thing, is that whatever else she does, she is this spiritual figurehead for a country. Philosophy Tube, Abigail Thorne, once did a video on monarchy, and she said that the queen was England's waifu. England's collective waifu is the queen. Mm-hmm. Some sort of idealized mother or father figure. Now it's a father figure that represents the goodness of your national will or something like that. And in that sense, that it's also weird because it's nationalistic. It's very strange to congregate around a person who you feel like represents you as a country when, she's still like this white figure. England is this multi-ethnic place that is more informed, if anything, by Indian culture than anything else because of its colonialization. But none of that is present in royalty. There's no brown ruler of England, even though that would be just as representative. So,
I'm looking. I want to make sure that I answered your question correctly about the partition of Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
I want to make sure what year was that? 1947. So it was still King George.
There you go.
But so the English had this thing called divide and rule that they would do, and that basically involved exploiting or creating these societal divisions that maybe didn't even exist before, and creating these sort of really brutal conditions for the people who lived there by like creating racism, like generating hatred, like taking the subcontinent and dividing it into based on ethnic and religious differences, where beforehand they were able to live together, but the English being like, no, the Bengals can't live with the Indians. You guys are different somehow. It's like before, okay, we weren't different, like that different before. We just had different religions. Like, aren't there different religions in England? And
but that's a very common feature of colonialism, is to stoke the cultural differences in the colonized people until it gets way out of hand, so that they can...
Well, you say it's very common because I think it was invented by England.
Yeah, basically.
Like, Spain didn't use that, I don't think. France
did that a bunch. France did that in Africa a lot.
I think that was after England invented it. I mean,
I don't know my world history.
I don't know exactly, but I know that, like, there's an interesting sort of fantasy you can take of, like, if Spain had colonized America instead of English people. Mm-hmm. And the Spaniards, although they were not great to the indigenous, they were not engaged, like, in just, let's kill all of them.
Yeah, it wasn't straight up. There was a lot of murder, but it was also more embracing of the culture. But that's the other weird thing about American culture, is indigenous culture is folded into American culture, but in a way that, there's no, in Mexico or in lots of Latin American or South American countries, huge swaths of the population are Mixteca people, right? They're people that expressly identify as descendants of both, the colonizers and the indigenous population. And these are massive. There's no such, people do it in America, but it rings false. Elizabeth Warren tries to do that shit, but it doesn't come across as true because I think you're right. In North America, there was a more expressly genocidal or, ethnic cleansing mentality to it than there necessarily was in the more southern colonial examples. Which is not to say that they didn't do horrible colonialism there too. It was just different.
I mean, I read this. I can't remember the name of the book, but sort of a book about early American history and slavery and colonialism and the Spanish colonialism in Florida. Like, they were really engaged in trying to convert all the natives. Like, there's two sort of ideas about what to do with the native population, and the Spaniards were like, well, we're going to convert them all and save them, and the English people were like, well, we're going to kill them all. We're going to kill all of them. And so it's not good to, it's not like that great of the Spanish to try to convert them all, but they wanted, there's at least something in that you can sort of, it's not murderous. It's more like, well, we think we're saving you.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Mean, yeah, if we're talking about, I mean, it all ends up in the same thing, so it's hard to, like, dither on those points. You know, it all ends up with bodies stacked like cordwood. But, yeah, I think what that speaks to is less of a desire to eliminate the thing entirely, to eliminate an entire culture, but rather to, assimilate with it. Something, a greater desire to not totally exclude something, but rather to combine, I think maybe results. I mean, it definitely results in the different treatment of indigenous people. And, the fact that in South American countries, indigenous people have actually gotten a foothold in government, like with Bolivia being the prime example.
I found the book I was reading. It's called The Dawning of the Apocalypse by Gerald Horne.
Yeah.
And so he's a communist, so it's like a historical materialist book talking about, and it's the roots of slavery, white supremacy, settler colonialism, and capitalism in the long 16th century. So, let me see. So, yeah, the Spanish sort of had slaves in Florida. And so he talks about like the origin of slavery. In America. I was reading this during like 1619 times, when everyone was like...
yeah, when everyone was talking about 1619.
1619s.
Well, I think that lady has had a bunch of controversies surrounding her, right? Or like, I don't want to get into that discourse because it's...
At first I was reactionary and I was like, that's bad. I don't like that. I don't like hearing bad things. And then I was like, I'm going to try to read about it. And so I read this book, and the guy wrote another introduction after the 1619 Project, and Gerald Horne is also black, and so he wrote an introduction, and he was like, I don't get why everyone is pissed about 1619 and not my book, because I wrote it before. And
that's very funny, Big Petty. I like that.
And he was
you should have been rioting. I was saying much more extreme shit. I
already did it. I did it first. And
that's great. That's like Lou Reed talking shit about other rock bands.
Yeah. But so she's not wrong. She does get some things kind of wrong. Like the thing is that Gerald Horne talks about is like, well, yeah, the Spaniards were bringing slaves before 1619. So slavery, that is not the start of slavery. And they did enslave indigenous people as well. So it's like there's more to it than just that. But I've very much softened on 1619 Project. I think it's fine now. Yeah. I don't care. I think it's fine. It's fine and it's kind of good. I'm not deeply invested in that world of historical. Like the alternative is the shit that I learned in Catholic school, which was that the slaves liked being slaves, and they're actually, it's a myth that the slaveholders were ever mean or bad to the slaves who liked
just
it.
Like The Patriot, like Mel Gibson in that you remember The Patriot?
Yeah, I remember that movie.
Had this weird lighthearted depiction of slavery.
Yeah, that's what they white conservatives chose to do is whitewash it and say that it wasn't that bad. It was actually kind of good for them. And that continues into their way that they misteach Reconstruction as well. I was taught that, like, basically what I was taught at Catholic school was like, when we gave black people the right to vote, they weren't ready for it.
That's so fucking paternalist. That's so fucking
bullshit.
stupid.
It is what it is. And, all I had to do is read the beginning of Eric Foner's book, which I haven't finished because I'm reading some other stuff. But like, Reconstruction is mistaught all over. And that the big error that the government made was giving black people the right to vote because they were making the wrong choices because they weren't electing racist white landowners.
Yeah.
Like they were supposed to.
Yeah.
Like, duh, of course not. The idea that they try to get in your mind is like basically black people don't have any agency and they don't know they can't vote. They can't take care of themselves. And that is so evil and pisses me off so much when I see anything like that. So I have a very bad reaction. To the 1619 project is a worthy project. It's very hard to get everything completely right when you're doing history. And so to have people nitpick at it, it's like that should be welcomed by I'm trying to remember her name now. I can't remember who does it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Like that should be she could just welcome like, okay, there's criticisms, like it's fine. And I think they've made revisions, and that's you have to revise it as you go. But
Nicole Hannah Jones.
There's what she's up against is an evil alternative, so it's a pretty easy choice to make. It's not flawless, but there's no history book that's flawless.
Comments. I'm reading now her controversy section
on Wikipedia.
On Nicole Hannah Jones. Yeah, I'm trying to.
Oh, we getting into it now. Okay.
We're gonna get. No, I don't. Here's one on comments on Europe and Ukraine.
Okay.
Ooh. In February 2022, tweet Hannah Jones stated that Europe is not a continent by definition, alleging that there is a geopolitical fiction to separate it from Asia. That's kind of true. That's like that. Yeah, if we're going by continents as landmass, sure.
Okay,
I don't know.
So yeah, they put in the 1619 project that the American Revolution was fought to protect slavery.
Interesting.
And that's like, yeah, I guess, yeah, not 100% of the people fighting it had that motive, but it's hard to ascribe motive. Some people had that motive.
Yeah, for sure. I think Hamilton and Jefferson probably had that motive.
Well, Jefferson did. I don't know if Hamilton did. I don't know. I've only read Ron Chernow's Hamilton book, and he's just jacking off about Hamilton constantly.
I love fucking Hamilton. Yeah, you need to read a more holistic Hamilton book.
There unfortunately isn't a better one right now.
Here, it comments on... she referred to alarm over Russia's invasion of Ukraine and its people who also appear white as a racial dog whistle. Huh. But I think if you listen to our bonus episode this week, which we actually talk about that. I don't think that's totally that far off.
I don't care about that. That's recent controversy. That's fine.
I don't think I've never seen her do anything that would make me be like, this person
she got into trouble. She got into trouble mainly for saying that the Revolutionary War was fought like expressly to protect slavery. And number one, I haven't read the 1619 Project, so that may be in itself a misinterpretation or of what it says. Yeah. And two, there's more to it than that. They also wanted to
but a lot of it,
they didn't want to pay taxes. Like that's like there were a bunch of reactionary right-wing rich guys who did not want to pay taxes, and I'm sure for the ones that own slaves, they're like, we don't want to pay taxes on our slaves.
Yeah, the American Revolution was about making money. It was about making more money than you previously could. And how did most people make money? How did the rich landowners make money back then? That's all you need to put. That's 2 and 2 that you need to put together in order to get to that conclusion.
Removes. Yeah. It wasn't. It's like there's this weird ideology that everyone has to have about the revolution, like that it's because they wanted freedom in their. It was in their bones. They wanted freedom.
Yeah. Well, I guess America makes fun of the Queen dying, but we have the same shit with the Founding Fathers, and even the president to some degree represents that. The president is the nation's waifu. Obama was definitely, for a lot of people, he was the waifu.
I don't really get what you mean by that, because
waifu is like when an anime person fixates on an anime character, an otaku fixates on usually
it's a fixation. Then I see.
Yeah, but it's like to a person that doesn't actually exist. To a person that's just sort of a spiritual idea of a person. So it becomes, but it's this form of adulation to this ghost, right? To this cute ghost that you like to keep around you, that doesn't actually talk to you, but feels that it talks to you. Yeah, and it's interesting these Dark Enlightenment people want that, because what these people are essentially comfort figures. In the same way we had Keith Stack on the show a while back, and it's lovely to see Leslie and Brienne become comfort figures for people. Mm-hmm. But yeah, these people who, when you see, sort of remind you, operate as these spiritual guideposts or waystones for you. And I think the President of America, regardless of your political opinion, takes on that image of the constant God, of the God constant. I think that's even why ostensibly anti-monarchy, Stephen Fry on Twitter was going like, "Oh Lord, help me! Oh no!" And some amazingly brilliant person quote tweeted and said, "The British twink I've been edging for 40 minutes." I retweeted that. But yeah, even among people who you would ostensibly think are anarchists, anti-monarchists, they still have this sentimental attachment to this thing. And the way I likened it was, have you ever seen the movie? Have you ever seen the television show Lost?
Nope, not at all. Not a single episode.
So there's this one character called Desmond, and he's a Scottish guy. And he says, "Desmond, I've become unstuck in time, and I need to find a way." And he's unstuck in time like the protagonist in Slaughterhouse-5, and his molecules are being ripped apart. And in order to become stuck in time once again, he needs to interact or hear the voice of someone who is a constant, i.e. somebody that has been in their life for a while and sort of grounds them to reality. And then his constant is his girlfriend Penny. He hears his girlfriend Penny's voice over the phone, and he says, "Penny, it's you, Penny." And he is able to live once again. But I think that's sort of what these figures operate as for people. These constants, these things that exist, unchanged, and exist throughout time to represent some sort of epochal event that you're experiencing with them. There are these, I guess, cultural avatars is another way to put it as well. But, so it's weird that you want that. It's weird that, like, the Dork Enlightenment is all about these return to monarchs, because they are essentially comfort figures you want a comfort figure because you're weak. Mm-hmm. It's weird you have this fucking and it's not all the time you want them because, like, but it's weirdly sentimental. You have this whole philosophy based on the idea that you are more rational, that people are more rational than others.
Well, the Dark Enlightenment people, they don't want like a figurehead monarch. They want the real deal.
They want an evil fucking ruler.
Well, they want the monarch who can make decisions without any kind of balancing of interests outside of his own, his or her own internal decision-making process, because that simplifies everything.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, but I think once again, that's sort of a comfort thing. It's a comfort figure. Yeah, because daddy's in charge. Mommy's in charge.
Yeah, it is weird that they think that would be better, because there have been indecisive bad monarchs who the equivalent of gridlock occurs because they are unable to reconcile in themselves to conflicting ideas. So and then you're kind of stuck for that until that person dies. Yeah, like that's really hampered. Like that's why people were sort of stuck in the medieval ages for so long, because every so often they just get this terrible king, and he's like, oh shit, the king's 17 and he's an idiot, and it's and he's living until he's 80. So we're not going to be able to do anything good the entire time he's king.
Yeah.
It's a very foolish thing to want to do.
Well, they want it because they think they should be the ones in charge. They also have that.
Yeah, it's like, does Peter Thiel think he's gonna be like the guy whispering in the king's ear?
Or does he want to be the king himself?
I don't know. I mean, he is so not going to be cool with if it's a Catholic monarch, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't get it. But I guess there's more of this like the Nick Land like techno fascism stuff that I don't understand. Like,
yeah,
I can't stomach to read much about it, so I just kind of ignore it and block those people.
I imagine it's like what the divine right becomes is this like sacred AI that you build up. You build a sacred AI and then it selects the leaders for you based on like sets of data that you're acquiring from people. So that it can choose the one. You know, I'm not familiar with it, but, you know, that's how they get around that idea of divine right or, you know, blood lineage, choosing bad monarchs is that, no, instead this is done on some sort of objective, technologically maintained meritocracy.
People have so overestimate AI. It's really crazy to me. They're like, it's almost there. It's almost a human being in there. And there's that guy that got fired from Google for saying that Google's AI had achieved intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, I think that guy was mostly just doing it for the clicks, you know, mostly just saying that so that people would pay attention.
So, I mean,
there you go.
I don't know if they clicked the fire button.
That is true. That is true.
You think at Google they have a button for firing?
Yeah, absolutely. They just send him down the Google shaft into the Google prison.
It's all pneumatic over there at Google Enterprises.
Absolutely, yeah. But they do have little nap zones in the Google prisons. They do have little nap chambers that you can go and take a nice nap in while you're serving your Google time.
I'd love to live in the Google prison.
You could search all the information in the Google prison, you know.
You can't search shit on Google these days.
How do you mean?
It's a bad search engine. It doesn't work anymore. You can't find what you need to find.
What's bad about it? You
don't get good results. Try to search for like a complex topic on Google. You have a bad time. There's so many ads. There's so many just irrelevant social media results. Like if you search a term that you want to do research on, like the first 60 pages are Twitter jokes. I mean,
right.
Like.
So what you're saying is that we should build a search engine, the House of Decline search.
You go to houseofdecline.com and you can use the search engine that I bought I didn't buy it, that I coded, that is basically just a database search for terms. If the term you search is in the database, it'll have a result. That's the only way it works.
There you go. You should now you need to develop an AI that will be able to analyze an image and like determine how many penises are in it. In order to, this is a 5-penis comic. This is a 3-penis comic.
I think on the docket for the website is going to be rearranging the panels to make your own penis comics. That's going to be the next thing. We don't need AI for that. I'm not bullish on AI. I think it's silly. I think it's a useful tool, but it's like 3D. It's going to be like 3D movies. It's going to be here and then it's going to be gone. It's just going to be here in ways that we don't expect. I was talking to Grim, Exile Grim, on Twitter. I was doing talk to him on Spaces, and he's a programmer. And he was talking about what he does is AI for high-level legal cases that are in specific legal fields. Because what apparently this AI he programs can do is just like dredge through a bunch of documents and select all the key terms and relevant quotes and relevant case law from it and like just turn it into one already organized memo or something like that. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's like we worry about the AI overtaking, labor jobs or something like that. But much more quickly, it's going to overtake these sort of like specialized information professional type jobs. Well, programmers are right now writing AI that will write programs. So they're basically coding themselves out of a job. So it's funny. The thing is, it's like you have to maintain that shit, and maintaining it is a problem that they like. If you can write an AI to do maintenance, I would be very surprised. But you know, if you can, email us at houseofdecline@gmail.com. I'm interested if there's any software maintenance AI. I know GitHub has Dependabot alerts, but I don't think that's AI. And of course, if you want to go to patreon.com/House of Decline to support the show, we welcome it. We have daily comics. Every single day there's a comic that's never posted to Twitter. And for $5 a month, you get the bonus episodes. But Alex, it's been wonderful. Do you have any final thoughts about the Queen or 9/11?
I think it would be funny if you had a second queen has hit the towers. You know, there are two queens. You know, one, you take the queen from Boston, you get in her large body, and Seth MacFarlane misses that queen, and he's like, "Oh God, I missed the queen." You know,
I almost boarded that queen.
You know. That's what he's wanted to do his entire goddamn life. Good night, everybody.